This artist presentation is a review of the artist Leidy Churchman. I'll start with a quote from him. Keeping an openness is part of the recipe for artistic. Let's look at Churchman's bio. He was born in 1979 in Pennsylvania. He currently lives and works in New York City. In education, he received his MFA from Columbia University in 2010. He graduated from Hampshire College in Amherst in 2002. He's known for works that explore the question of how images are perceived and processed in the modern world. His works are kept in the collections of a number of museums, including the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York City and the MUMOC in Vienna. He is represented by Matthew Marks Gallery in New York City. Let's look at his submission for the Whitney Biennial 2022. The title is Mountains Walking. It's a 36-foot wide triptych, oil on canvas, shown here in its entirety. He says the inspiration is from Claude Monet's Water Lilies, as well as a 13th century Zen text. Let's look at Monet's. Here is the inspiration, and as you can see, it's from the Musée de l'Orangerie in Paris, which is a beautiful, stunning exhibit. I hope everyone, if you haven't seen it, has the opportunity to do so. Anyway, we see a clear inspiration there. This is what Leidy says. What's more contrived than starting with water lilies? I thought I'll start from what I like about the Monet and then go deep with it. He says also about the work. Painting it was quick, about a month of working every day. I wasn't sure what I would do, but I was ready for it. He added a bit of surprise and humor from the fact that the painting is set on claw-like animal feet. Those are shown here. Not exactly a Monet move, but he says that these feet are connected to Buddhism, noting they bring a wrathful protector energy. I really like this photo of Ms. Muriel Mandel on her 101st birthday in front of Mountains Walking. I think it epitomizes what Churchman feels about paintings. Let's look at it. Churchman is interested in painting's ability to connect with an audience and become what he evocatively terms an oil pit and stain of emotion and personality. Painting acts as a sign or a flag that conveys information regarding the human experience. And what is that for Churchman? It seems to be nothing less than what it means to exist on this planet. Our relationship with nature, urban jungles, social and political structures that govern our activities, as well as emotional exchanges, love, hate, loneliness. That's the gamut. Churchman uses painting as a means to channel his urgency to try and connect. I thought I'd throw in Churchman's favorite painting. This is Monkeys and Bears in the Kiskindha Forest, circa 1775. I also love the sort of landscape. It's got a kind of an American primitivism about it, as well as great bright colors and funny little figures that you see, the bears and the monkeys, and then something's flying around up there. So let's look at some of his other works and how they might connect. Leidy is a painter whose many subjects have included landscapes, advertisements, online videos, Tibetan Buddhism, nature photos, scientific diagrams, and even the work of other artists. In spite of the seeming all-inclusiveness, Churchman's subjects are conspicuously personal, more like a browser history than an encyclopedia. Churchman has spoken of painting as a part of a larger exploration of consciousness, a quest to expand what is knowable. Let's look at some of his works. Going back to 2008, you can see that he's got this kind of queer sensibility in both this painting, Purple Pals, not a very big painting. And then if we go to the right side of the slide, we have the New Dawn Marsden Hartley Soutine 2014. Again, still kind of expressing and maybe exploring that queerness. But then kind of between those two, we see this MasterCard. This is kind of tiny, only about as big as a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. But of course, for me, I think of Warhol. Okay, then if we go into 2015, we have the tallest residential tower in the Western Hemisphere. Again, oil on linen. This is a large painting, 5 by 6 feet. It's beautiful to look at. There's a soft palette of the pastels, really nice. I think you'd have to take a real close look at it, but what we're seeing, of course, is a landscape of New York, and just a beautiful sky, and we got that nice tub there. Then we go to the crocodile, which is very different. He's showing a real texture on the crocodile skin, and this is again oil on linen. It's quite a bit smaller than the tallest residential tower. So let's go into 2017. Infinitely rich qualities of mine. Again, oil on linen, mid-size, 36 by 45. It has the sensibility of the tallest residential tower, and that is very pastel, very soft. But I think we'd have to look closer to see what he might mean and what everything is in this painting. Then the following year, he jumps to antique. Here we go, back on oil on linen again, 76 by 66, quite a large painting. It's very clearly just sort of a dresser. And then we've got the zebra in the middle of the mirror, which is kind of funny. Okay, then we're getting closer to current day. We've got the disappearing axe, oil on linen, where again he's using these figures that are just sort of people in different poses, but he's kind of breaking them up and showing kind of maybe a reflection, or it's just a very interesting painting. Again, that's also a large one. But then he goes back to a pretty small one, oil on linen, iPhone 11, 2019, 2020. So what does all this say about him? I found that he was named one of the Nifty 50 in the New York Times Style magazine of February 2010. He was also named one of the HuffPost Top 10 Emerging Artists the following year. I used David Coleman, the writer of the Style magazine article. I used his thoughts here, which I thought were really good, just kind of talking about what he thought about Churchman and his approach to art. He says, what's striking about the transgender artist is that while his paintings and performances don't shrink from reflecting the queerness of his world, his ideas, and his friends, there's nothing cooler than thou about them. Approachable, friendly, engaging, he's 3 for 3. His painting and sculptures simultaneously reference the simple figures of early American primitive painting, the random amusements in the strange object pairings of Dadaism, and the pop sexuality of 1960s artists, Alex Katz, David Hockney, and John Wesley. Uniting them all is an almost childlike sense of fun and mischief that makes the work thoroughly enjoyable. He continues, the mixing of things is about a curiosity, Churchman says, but in the end, I want there to be something that feels very familiar. For me, I don't like to make the viewer uncomfortable, but I do like to do uncomfortable things. For example, he's fond of a little clever reworking of previous art practices, documenting the sweet and messy chaos of a gloppy finger painting session. They recall a rambunctious kindergartner more than a serious abstract expressionist. This kind of revisionist practice is very much in line with what is generally called queering, a mockery or repositioning of some practice or aesthetic that has been dominated by the straight white male bloc. Continuing, but the spirit of fun and curiosity that Churchman brings to his work turns the political correctness down and the humor and joy of it all up. I don't want to shove anyone's face in it, he says. What really brings it all together is an investigation of painting. I love color and making things pretty in this way. In short, Churchman doesn't just think different, he rethinks it. And all of that is from David Coleman of the New York Times. So in conclusion, how do we link his previous works to his Whitney Biennial 2022 showing? Does the work reflect other works he has shown? I'd say yes and no. Is the Whitney work a good representation of this artist? I'd say yes. A review of his work shows the amazing range of it. His very early work leans toward a queer focus. Was this a reflection of his feelings about transitioning? Possibly. There's little to no reference regarding his sexuality in articles. In fact, Coleman's reference in the New York Times Style magazine is the only one I have found that specifically discusses it. The Whitney biennial work shows an outright connection to Monet in the same way he has referenced other artists. Even so, he has made it his own. I found this artist to be, as Coleman puts it, approachable, friendly, and engaging. Thank you.